I just have two quick things I want to mention before we dive into this video. First off, I want to start by saying thank you to Matt from Michigan. Matt reached out to me through my channel and he helped me locate both these locations that I'm about to show you. Now, these were two very hard to find locations, and honestly, without his help, I don't know how long it would have taken me to locate them. So thank you again, Matt. Honestly, without your assistance, this video wouldn't even be possible. Second, if you love the movie Funny Farm and want to see all of the locations that were used for filming locations for the movie, I'm going to be posting another video shortly after this one. It's going to be called The Ultimate Funny Farm Filming Locations. Everything that they used all around Vermont is going to be featured in this video. Last summer, I did a majority of the filming locations, but with the ones that I'm showing you today, coupled with a few that I didn't even include in this one, they're all gonna be rolled into this new one. So if you're a Funny Farm enthusiast and want to take a look at that video, check out my channel, The Ultimate Funny Farm Filming Locations. I know you'll enjoy it. So with that said, let's go ahead and start it. Hope you enjoy this. I'm here in Reading, Vermont, and this is the location that they used the first time that you see the moving truck when the guys are kind of lost in search of redbud here in rural Vermont. So the moving truck would have come right down this road in front of me here, and right off to the left you can see that stone wall and that tree right here. That stone wall and that tree are very visible in that scene. So as the movers are coming down this hillside right here in the truck, that's when Crocker's asking Mickey for the map because they're lost and they're trying to figure out where the hell they are. You can see this pasture, that rock wall, and that tree right here during filming of that scene.
See that map again?
And this building in front of me would have been Mack's house from the movie Funny Farm. Now, I can't get over how much this building still looks so much like it did during filming way back in the 1980s. Same could be said for this area here. Everything looks nearly identical except for a few things that they did to alter this building to make it look like a house. Now in the movie, it had a porch on the front of it that would have been right here that was added. Right here is the door to this little barn kind of structure. They had it more set up to make it look like it was a front door to the house, and there was a window that was here. They had a couple posts here with an awning, and then Mack would have been sitting right out here on a chair. But everything looks the same. This wood pile off to the side, this little, I don't know what you call this little thing that's on the peak of the roof, but that's there, and they kind of more show it from this angle like this. They kind of cut this side of it out of the framing of the picture, so it's more like that you see it. So you don't see this little part that's over here. I don't know exactly what that's for, but you can see there's some doors there. But I'm telling you, everything as far as even in the background looks nearly identical. You can still see these two trees. This one was much smaller, as was this one. The only thing that's really different is there was a tree roughly here that has been since removed. And I don't know if you can see over there, there's even cattle in the field. In the movie, during the scene that they filmed here, they were kind of like right over here in this part of the pasture, but they're right there. I mean, it's crazy how much this looks like it did during filming. But the porch that was added on here would have just been right off to the front of it. So the porch would have just been out here. It's sort of like a wooden porch. So this part of it right here is where Mack would have been sitting.
How'd you know my name was Mack?
And you can see, you know, the boards and everything that are in the background when he's talking. This is all visible. They decorated this up a little different just to change the facade the way it looked over here. So it's not so much like a barn door, and just made it look a little different as far as like trying to make it look more like a house during filming. And this window was either covered or wasn't there. There was sort of like a plant hanging, like a fern that would have been hanging from the porch, and it either blocked that or that window wasn't there. I'd have to go back and rewatch the scene. But this is where they show Mack sitting here. And when the guys first pull up in the moving truck, Crocker and Mickey, they come down this road right here. And this is where you see the moving truck would have pulled right in here. And that's where Crocker pulls up and asks Mack for directions. Mack would have been sitting right here. So the moving truck pulls in right here, and that's when Crocker says, "Hey Mac, which way to Redbud?"
Hey, Mac, which way to Redbud?
That's when Mac is like, "How'd you know my name was Mac?"
How'd you know my name was Mac?
Crocker's like, "I guess."
Just guess.
And then Mac says one of the funniest lines in the movie, in my opinion, but he's just like, "Well, why don't you guess your way to Redbud?"
And why don't you guess your way to Redbud?
And the look on Crocker's face. You know, here he is, a city guy, moving truck. He's out here in, beautiful rural Vermont trying to find directions to, a place that he has no idea how to get to. That was all shot right here.
Hey, Mac, which way to Redbud? How'd you know my name was Mac? Just guess. Then why don't you guess your way to Redbud?
Now, when Crocker and Mickey are on their way back to Mac's house to ask for directions the second time, they kind of do a camera pan, and it begins with this tree right here in front of me. Now, it's still standing, but it looks a little different right here in this corner, because right where the trunk of the tree, it kind of branched out over here. That portion has since kind of rotted out, and this tree has a big hollowed part of it on the other side, so it looks a little different. But there would have been a red fence that's right along here, that would have been right along here, and you can kind of see the fencing has since changed. But the truck would have come right down this hill. So you would have heard that funny music as the truck's coming down this hillside, and you can see those 3 trees, as well as those 2 trees, when the moving truck passes by. They're all still standing. You can see 1, 2, and 3, and then over here it's a little harder to see because they've kind of grown together, but there's one trunk there and another one right there. But those trees are nice and mature now. They have since grown up since filming. But right here is the road that you would have seen the moving truck coming back down to go down to Mac's house to ask for directions, and then Mac's house is right there. Now right here would have been an angle that they show Mac sitting in his rocking chair. It would have been right here, and you would have seen the moving truck coming down that hill off in the distance. So Mac would have been sitting like right here, and there would have been a porch post right here. But he sort of like looks over his shoulder because he can hear a vehicle coming down the hillside, and that's when you see the moving van coming back down here. And it stops right out here in front of Mac's house. This is where they would have stopped and asked for directions.
Pardon me, sir. Could you give us some assistance, please? Yeah, glad to help.
So this is where you see a side of the moving truck where Mickey is just sort of his arms sort of hanging out the window, and that's when he asks Mac for directions to Dog Creek Road near the town of Redbud.
We're looking for a Dog Creek Road. That would be near the town of Redbud.
And then, of course, Mac said, if I'm going to Dog Creek Road, I sure as hell wouldn't start here.
Well, if I was going to Dog Creek Road, I sure as hell wouldn't start from here.
Supposing you had to.
His comments are just hysterical. I mean, and that's what they show, Mickey and Crocker looking at one another, and just the look on Crocker's face, because he just wants to strangle Mac.
Let me have a try.
They
shot all of that right out here at this location.
We're looking for a Dog Creek Road. That would be near the town of Redbud.
Well, if I was going to Dog Creek Road, I sure as hell wouldn't start from here. Or you could take the bridge at the fork in the road and save yourself a heap of time. Go that way if I were you.
I'm here in Heartland, Vermont, and I'm in one of the hidden filming locations for the movie Funny Farm. Now this location unfortunately has changed an awful lot, but I'm going to walk through and show you where things stood, why it looks the way it does now, and fill in some of the missing pieces to why this location is so hard to find and why it looks so different now. This location here is where Sid's Hideaway Bungalows used to be located. Now, right now you're gonna obviously see there aren't any bungalows here any longer, but I'm gonna show you where actually 2 of them are still located, and I'm gonna explain what happened to the other 3. Now, when you first see Sid's Hideaway Bungalows, you can actually see this tree and a sign that kind of comes into frame. Now, the 5 cabins that were here for Sid's Hideaway Bungalows would have been right out here along this tree line. So there's actually a clearing that's right here. There would have been cabin number 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And they sort of extended like an arch. It's sort of like arched, curved its way around here, and they were all kind of flush up against the back of these trees, and there was a little drive that was here, like a little graveled lane. So when Andy and Elizabeth first arrived here, they would have come, the camera would have kind of panned like that, and you would have seen the sign, and they show them pull up to cabin number 5. Now, cabin number 5 would have been the one on the end, and it actually had a distinctive mark to it. It actually had a window that would have been right here on the side of it, whereas you can see cabin number 4 and 3 off to the side of it did not have that. Now, the cabins would have been pushed back farther. They would have been more up against this tree line here, and there would have been almost like a little bit of a lane. So if you see an aerial view of the land that I'm standing on, there was sort of a drive that sort of arched its way around, and you could see a few of these trees that were there. Now, of course, they go into the inside of the cabin, and that's where the interiors were shot at another location. That was inside the West Windsor Town Hall. That's where they filmed that. But the exterior was all here. Now, later, they show Andy when he's leaving this location. He gets in his car, and when he's leaving, you can actually see some of these other buildings that come into frame. You can actually see this house, but again, it was taken from more over at this angle, so I'll walk you over here. So the lane that the cabins would have been on was right here. So this is where Andy and Elizabeth would have driven, and the cabins would have been there. So right here is when Andy's leaving, he drives down this pathway and it wraps around like that driveway, and then he leaves right there. But in that scene, it's shot in the dark. It's a night scene. You can clearly see this house right here. And I was really trying to identify where exactly they shot that. It was hard to tell because with these cabins missing, but when I was able to line up the night shot and see that building is clearly visible. So this is the drive that Andy and Elizabeth would have come in. They would have come right up here, right along here to their cabins. Now, these cabins were here for a number of years. So even when they were filming back in the 80s, these cabins had been sitting here unused from the 70s, from what I gather, and they were in need of some repair. So they painted them and fixed them up for filming purposes for the exterior. The thing I found very interesting is over the years, the landowners took cabins number 4, 5, and 3, and they moved them right here onto this slab. Now, the reason I know that is because, one, I could clearly match it up with some old Google Street View images, and 2, the current landowner told me that's exactly what they did with them. So cabins 5, 4, and 3 were pushed together, and it made one big shed. So they poured this concrete slab here to make basically like a garage. Now, unfortunately, a tree had fallen and crushed them. So you can see right here, this stump. This is one of the trees that's also visible in that scene. This tree had fallen and had damaged these cabins a few years ago. So they had to take them down. But cabin number 5, the one that was out there during filming, and the one that's here when they moved it into the garage, was the one that was Andy and Elizabeth's cabin. Now, the thing I find really interesting is cabins 1 and 2 are right here. These are 2 of the original 5 cabins from Funny Farm that have been used as an addition, almost like a breezeway from the house to the garage. But these are 2 of the original 5 cabins that were used in filming. Now, these are cabins 1 and 2, so they were the first ones that you don't really get to see a whole lot of them, because you see more of like 5, 4, and 3. But look at this. This totally matches up. If you study, you know, where the door is, the little peaked, the 2 windows, the roof, these are the original cabins. So they've converted, this one is, I'm guessing, sort of like a breezeway, and this one is an additional, they put a garage door on it, so they've altered the front facade of it. But these are it. And then again, here's that lane. This is where the roadway is. This is where Andy and Elizabeth would have turned in to come into Sid's Hideaway Bungalows. Fascinating. And again, these are some of the trees that you see. Those were there during filming. They're much bigger now. But this is where Sid's Hideaway Bungalows were, one of the hidden locations.